Joy Behar was caught completely off guard. One moment she was doing what she does best, delivering her signature sharp, no-holds-barred commentary on The View, and the next she found herself at the center of a brewing storm. The catalyst? A cryptic remark from her colleague Sunny Hostin, a fellow co-host known for her passionate advocacy on social justice issues. In a tense, unexpected moment during the live broadcast, Sunny dropped a bombshell that left Joy visibly shaken and the audience holding their breath. The atmosphere in the studio shifted instantly. Sunny's comment was veiled but pointed, suggesting that Joy's trademark humor and biting commentary might have crossed an invisible line, one now entangled in the fallout of Melania Trump's staggering $100 million lawsuit. Though the accusation wasn't explicit, the implication was clear, and it struck Joy like a thunderbolt. Could her years of unfiltered jokes and relentless critiques have inadvertently fueled a legal battle with the former First Lady? The question hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. Joy, ever the professional, maintained her composure, but her sharp gaze betrayed her irritation. "Are you seriously suggesting that my commentary is somehow responsible for this lawsuit?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with an edge that hinted at her growing frustration. The tension between the two was palpable, a rare crack in the usually polished dynamic of the show. Sunny paused briefly, then doubled down. "I'm saying certain narratives were pushed relentlessly," she replied, her tone firm and unyielding. The word relentlessly seemed to echo in the room, a loaded term that left everyone, including the audience, on edge. What had begun as a routine episode of The View had suddenly turned into a live, high-stakes confrontation. This wasn't just another heated debate, it felt deeply personal, as though years of underlying tensions had finally surfaced. Joy, a veteran of countless on-air clashes, was clearly preparing to defend herself, but the question remained, what had prompted Sunny to make such a bold and controversial statement? The answer, it seems, lies in a shocking family secret, one that has turned Sunny from critic to target in an instant. As the drama unfolds, one thing is certain, this story is far from over, and the fallout could change everything. Stay tuned. Sunny Hostin had built a strong reputation on The View as a bold and unwavering advocate for social justice. She never hesitated to call out racism, inequality, and historical injustices, often challenging both her co-hosts and the audience to acknowledge difficult truths. Her passion for accountability made her a respected, if sometimes polarizing, voice in the ongoing cultural conversation. But everything shifted when she appeared on PBS's Finding Your Roots and uncovered a shocking chapter in her own family history. During the episode, Sunny learned that her third great-grandfather had been a slaveholder. The revelation stunned not only her, but also viewers who had long admired her outspokenness on historical and systemic injustices. For a brief moment, the disbelief on her face was evident, an unguarded reaction from someone accustomed to being in control of the narrative. But what came next surprised many. Rather than engage in the kind of deep reckoning she so often demanded from others, Sunny seemed to downplay the discovery, referring to it as an unfortunate but distant part of history. The response from the public was immediate and unrelenting. Social media erupted, with many calling her out for hypocrisy. How could someone who so forcefully held others accountable for their ancestors' actions now appear to dismiss her own family's troubling past? Even her most devoted supporters found themselves uneasy, struggling to reconcile this reaction with the steadfast advocate they had come to admire. Suddenly, the moral authority that had once seemed so unshakable was under scrutiny. But the controversy didn't stop with Sunny. As the criticism mounted, her co-host Joy Behar became entangled in the fallout in an unexpected way. It began with murmurs, questions about whether Joy's quick wit and pointed remarks had contributed to tensions behind the scenes. Then, on a particularly charged morning, the simmering tension between the two boiled over live on air. This wasn't just another heated debate, it was deeply personal, and this time, it wasn't Sunny taking the lead, it was Joy. What followed was an explosive confrontation that would leave viewers and even the hosts themselves stunned. The fallout from Sunny Hostin's family revelation was immediate and unrelenting. What could have been a moment for introspection instead became a raging controversy. Social media wasn't forgiving, it was merciless. The very audience that had once championed her calls for justice now turned its scrutiny on her. How could someone who so passionately demanded accountability from others suddenly minimize her own family's dark past? The reaction wasn't just from political opponents. Even longtime supporters began to question her integrity. Those who had admired her unwavering stance on historical injustices now wondered if it had been selective all along. The controversy didn't stay confined to online debates. Conservative commentator Greg Gutfeld seized the opportunity to go on the offensive. On his Fox News show, he launched a scathing critique, accusing Sunny of hypocrisy, portraying her as someone who weaponized history against others, but conveniently sidestepped her own inconvenient truth. His attack was sharp, calculated, and designed to escalate the backlash. It worked. The criticism intensified, turning into a full-fledged media spectacle. Memes mocking Sunny flooded social platforms. Hashtags questioning her credibility trended, and online forums dissected her every word, looking for more contradictions. What had started as a deeply personal revelation had now morphed into a full-blown credibility crisis. The public that had once viewed Sunny as a fearless voice for truth now cast doubt on her authenticity. The moral high ground she had firmly occupied for years seemed to be crumbling beneath her feet. But the storm surrounding Sunny was only the beginning. As she struggled to regain control of the narrative, a far more serious issue was quietly unfolding, one that threatened not just her reputation but the stability of The View itself. Behind the scenes, a lawsuit involving Melania Trump was gaining traction, and Sunny's next move would inadvertently pull her co-host Joy Behar into the chaos. What followed would be more than just another heated exchange. It would be a moment that could redefine the dynamics of the show and leave both the hosts and the audience stunned. The stage was set for an explosive confrontation, one that no one saw coming. Sunny Hostin sat frozen in her seat, the impact of Joy Behar's words washing over her like a tidal wave. The studio, usually buzzing with energy, was eerily silent. The audience, caught off guard, exchanged stunned glances, unsure whether to react or remain silent. Joy's pointed critique had not only challenged Sunny's stance, but had also unraveled a contradiction that was impossible to ignore. The weight of the moment was suffocating, and for the first time in recent memory, Sunny had no immediate rebuttal. As the episode aired, the internet erupted. Social media platforms were flooded with clips of Joy's sharp remarks, fueling an intense debate among viewers. Some commended Joy's directness, praising her for holding Sunny accountable in a way they deemed necessary. Others, however, found her approach overly aggressive, arguing that the conversation should have been handled privately rather than in front of a national audience. Hashtags related to the confrontation trended for hours, with think pieces dissecting the fallout appearing on various news sites. Back at ABC, the tension escalated behind the scenes. Executives were thrust into damage control mode, trying to prevent the controversy from spiraling further. Whispers of concern from major advertisers only heightened the urgency. The View had always thrived on spirited discussions, but this clash felt different, more personal, more divisive. Producers worried that what was once an engaging exchange of ideas had morphed into a rift that might be beyond repair. In the days that followed, the strained atmosphere was impossible to ignore. While Sunny and Joy continued to share the stage, their interactions had lost the ease and warmth they once held. Their exchanges were more measured, their body language more guarded. Viewers analyzed every glance, every tone shift, searching for signs of unresolved tension. When pressed about the confrontation in later interviews, Sunny chose her words carefully. She acknowledged that uncovering her family's history had been an emotional journey, but stopped short of admitting any fault or issuing an apology for the way she had framed the situation, including implicating Joy in the legal drama. Joy, ever candid, had a simpler response in a separate interview. If you're going to call for accountability, you should be ready to face it yourself. While the public feud seemed to settle over time, the fracture remained. The moment had left an indelible mark, not just on their relationship, but on the show itself. It was a stark reminder that even seasoned television veterans were not immune to the consequences of public scrutiny. The audience, once accustomed to their lively debates, now watched with a different perspective, wondering if their dynamic would ever return to what it once was. For The View, it was a defining moment, proving that the fine line between professional discourse and personal conflict was sometimes impossible to maintain. As the dust settled around Sunny Hostin's shocking revelation, one truth became glaringly obvious. This wasn't just about her ancestors, it was about the broader implications of self-righteousness in public discourse. Critics like Greg Gutfeld, alongside countless voices on social media, pointed out how moments like this expose the dangers of moral grandstanding. Sunny, who has spent years holding others to impossible standards, now found herself caught in the very trap she'd set for so many. But here's where it all could have taken a different turn. Instead of brushing off the revelation as a mere fact of life, Sunny had the perfect opportunity to pivot. Imagine if she had said, "I've just learned something surprising about my family's history, and it's making me rethink how I approach these conversations." That kind of humility, that willingness to engage with the complexity of history and identity, could have transformed this moment from a scandal into a powerful, teachable moment. Instead, what we got was silence. No deep reflection, no accountability, just a quick shrug and a pivot back to business as usual. And this is where the critique of figures like Sunny becomes more than personal. It's a reflection of a broader issue, a culture that demands accountability from everyone except those doing the demanding. Greg Gutfeld wrapped it up perfectly. When you spend your life looking for racism everywhere, eventually it finds you, and for Sunny, it was sitting right there in her family tree. It's a biting conclusion, but one that drives home the message: history is messy, and none of us are free from its shadows. The question isn't whether we can escape it, it's whether we'll have the courage to face it. For Sunny Hostin, the world is still waiting for an answer. The internet didn't hold back once Sunny Hostin's ancestral bombshell hit the airwaves. Within hours, social media platforms lit up with reactions that ranged from hilarious memes to pointed critiques. On Twitter, one user summed up the collective shock perfectly. Sunny Hostin finding out her family were slave owners is the plot twist of the year. Instagram and TikTok weren't far behind, with captions like, "Reparations? Let me write that check to myself real quick," paired with photos of Sunny's stunned face. The backlash wasn't limited to jokes. While some of Sunny's fans rushed to her defense, arguing that she shouldn't be held accountable for the actions of her ancestors, others were far less forgiving. "It's not about blaming her for their sins," one commenter wrote. "It's about the hypocrisy of shaming others while ignoring the skeletons in your own closet." The sentiment was clear. The issue wasn't Sunny's lineage itself, but her inability or unwillingness to address the irony in light of her public stance. As the memes and criticism snowballed, the conversation extended beyond Sunny herself. The incident became a lightning rod for broader debates about accountability, historical awareness, and the pitfalls of identity politics. Sunny's attempt to shrug off her family's past as a fact of life only added fuel to the fire, leaving many to question her sincerity as a public figure. The internet wasn't just laughing, it was dissecting. And in the midst of the chaos, one voice stood out louder than the rest. Greg Gutfeld. His sharp commentary not only amplified the debate, but introduced an even deeper critique of how identity politics oversimplify complex histories. Keep watching, because Gutfeld's take was about to expand beyond Sunny and strike at the heart of the political discourse she represents.